Hello, hello. My name is Sharp Eyes,
I am Crucifix.
and this is
WeCast.
where we cast.
Your games.
Absolutely. Today we're actually going to be doing some coaching. We actually don't really cast games anymore.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, as our title is WeCastSC2.
But I mean, if you really wanted us to, and you sent us an email showing us like, you know what, we want you to cast my game. I want you to cast my game so badly. Here's $9,000. We would do it. We'd do that for you for $9,000. So let us know if you're interested.
But not 8,000.
No. What? Yeah. We have to make a living somehow. Okay.
All right. So yeah. So who are you coaching today, Crucifix?
So we are coaching Claptrap. I like his name. It's cool. It rhymes. We're coaching Claptrap. He's a Zerg, and we're going to show him how to dominate Terran, which is if you don't know, Terran is a class, it's basically like Terran is a different kind of race than a Zerg is. Is basically how it works in StarCraft.
That is very observant of you.
Thank you very much. I thought it was a good. I thought it was a good pro tip.
All right. So our coachee Claptrap here is actually a diamond player.
Dang.
And he is versus a GA Tech Neurotic, which is a platinum player. So let's see how this game plays out.
So, as a Terran player myself, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of insight into what the Terran player is doing, and Sharp Eyes as a Zerg player is going to analyze the Zerg gameplay to see how he can better optimize what his build order.
So it looks like the Zerg player is going for a typical 15 hatch here, which is a very economical versus Terran, and it's also very safe as well, since I mean, there's really nothing that the Terran can do short of rushing a bunch of Marines, proxy barracks to punish the Zerg. Yeah, so pretty much it's very safe and should always be done versus Terran regardless.
So,
Now,
was the third hatch before pool or was it after pool?
um, hmm,
I think it was.
let me
Let's go
rewind that
back.
actually.
And the reason I ask is because the Terran player went CC first. He went
Hmm.
CC first before his barracks, and so basically, when the Terran goes CC first, the Zerg has to go hatch first, in order to basically
Hmm.
counter. So it
So
does look like it was after hatch, right? I mean, it was after pool.
yeah, so let's see if that was a calculated reaction by the Zerg player or if he naturally does that. So judging by the vision, yeah. So let's see. The Zerg player sees that the Terran has plopped down his command center over here, but
I
yeah.
think what
So
happened was, yeah, I
yeah,
think he already put down his spawning pool, and then he saw the command center, and he was like, "Shit, I gotta expand right now." So that's
yes,
probably why he threw down his third. So that
yeah.
was a
So
good. That was a good. It was a good reaction.
yeah. So pretty much like Day 9 says. If you see someone expanding, either try to wreck his expansion or be one base ahead.
Yeah, and so yeah, it was good. It was good reactionary play by the Zerg there.
So it does look like he's joining up quite nicely and making those queens. Let's see how many units. Okay, so he has two lings. It's good. Nice overlords here. Zerg player is playing pretty solidly. If I do say so myself.
Wow. So the Terran player is going for like a. This is like a innovation type, super early third command center. Probably gonna get some Hellions out. If I'm, yep, two Hellions are being produced. Um, Along with a couple Marines in the bunker there. Very, this is very typical TVZ play. It is quite greedy play as well from the Terran because he's going for a third command center so early. This is what you see a lot, along with double upgrades. So very greedy play by the Terran player. Um, we do see four Hellions on the field along with two Marines, and he's going to move out now to try to deny some creep spread, is what I'm assuming. Does go
Whoa,
into.
and the game kind of lagged a bit there.
Oh,
Uh,
I thought you paused it. So the Zerg players saw Hellions on the field, obviously. What do you think that do you think making Mass Zerglings was the correct idea here, or is it just because he didn't have a roach worn up yet?
So basically, when the Terran player goes Hellions, the Zerg can either, get roaches and play defensively, or get lings with speed and then try to, catch the
Right.
Hellions on the map. So yeah, I think that the Zerg players' decision making here is pretty solid.
Okay, good. Now, yep, it's looking like pretty normal play so far by both players. Hellions into bio. I'm expecting probably some Widow Mines coming out of this factory sometime soon. Yep, there they go. Two Widow Mines coming from the Terran player. And a Medevac and a Viking. The Viking's probably going to hunt down Overlords, I would assume, as the third base gets floated over to the third expansion. Zergling's keeping map control in the middle of the map. I like your play there. Making sure you know when the Terran player moves out. One thing I would recommend, just at this point, is use your overlords to get a little bit more map control than you currently have. Maybe send your overlords to the edges of the map so that you can be warned when drops come. I do see that you have an overlord in the upper left hand corner, and you have one in the bottom right next to your base. But I think you could do it even further. I think you could gain even more map control through your overlords, and that would warn you of any possible aggression. Maybe one right in the middle upper left, just like the middle upper left of the map. One overlord there, and then maybe one in the middle upper right, just to have vision on the entire map without risking too much.
Right, right. It's always good to, get those overlords
Right.
in nice places to spot the drops, and it actually does look like, the Zerg player should be able to spot them coming. I mean, since the Zerg player has this space over here and then this
Yeah.
space over here,
Yeah.
the only drop route, would probably be through here, which is defended quite well already.
This is true. There is good defense there.
Let's see, one thing that was kind of a misappropriation was these bases were never saturated. This one up here, and this one right down here, the natural. It's actually been at 14 for quite a while now.
Yeah,
So
and the main is at 20. I understand why you'd keep the main at 20, just because when you want to build buildings, you want to keep a couple extra. But the fact that both the main and the third aren't saturated means that it's either that you want them at 14 or that was a mistake. And 16, as far as I know, out of everything I've ever read, 16 is the optimum number. So
yeah, so I mean, while it is good that you're making units right now, your main priority should be to saturate all of your bases.
yeah,
Three of them at least.
yeah. If you weren't spending your minerals correctly, I would say it wasn't as important as making it sound. But because you're doing such a good job spending your minerals, um, every drone is going to be so important. So the fact that you're two drones, down on your natural expansion, and one drone, and it has been two for a while on your third, means that you've been missing out on a lot of minerals. And you've been making a ton of army units, and it wouldn't have taken that much more to make a couple more drones, and it would have helped you a lot. So that's one thing that I think we'd recommend really highly, to get at least 16 drones on each base as you're making army units.
Yeah, so I know that this is, kind of beaten to death already, but with Zerg, you really want to be one base ahead. And now you are one base ahead, but the base isn't saturated, so you're pretty much on equal footing with the Terran player right now, and that's not a good thing. Terran players have, mules, and mules are just insane. I mean, mules are what make Terran so damn powerful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so you really should have saturated your fourth. Let's see. Let's roll back. Let's see. So right here, um, you notice that he has a third. I think that your fourth should have been down 1 minute ago. Let's see.
Yeah, I would say every time you see your opponent taking a base, especially every time you see your opponent taking a base, prioritize taking an expansion if that base would equalize the two of you.
Yeah, like right here, you pretty much knew that he really didn't have anything, and if he did have units, you could just build a couple spine crawlers and call it a day. So what I would have done here is droned even harder, um, and droned up the third, and then as soon as you see him trying to take his third, then just go for a fourth immediately. I think you took too long to build your fourth, and that's why um, his army and income was matching yours.
Yeah. When the developers made the game, the reason they made the Zerg command center or hatchery less expensive was because that the units on average were more expensive. So if you don't, if you're not, the reason everybody says you want to be one base ahead is because of how cheap the hatcheries are. If you're not one base ahead, then you're naturally going to have a smaller army because the Zerg units are just naturally more expensive. But at the same time, they're able to expand and secure their expansions so much easier. And then here come the Widow Mines, probably going to clean up a lot. But you do a pretty good job cleaning up all those Widow Mines. But I would say that the armies are pretty even at this point. Unfortunately, you have mostly mutas, and he has mostly Marines. Marines counter mutas. So it's going to be really hard at this point. You push forward.
So one of the most tough things to fight is Marines backed up by medevacs. Pretty much the only thing that can kill them reliably is banelings. Now, like it's pretty crazy. I mean, as a Zerg player, I have faced many Terrans, and let me tell you, Marines plus medevacs is just a nightmare if you don't have banelings.
Yeah, and Widow Mines was the big killer there, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, this tiny force of Marines took out, X amount of blings, X amount of mutas, and without losing, like
Barely
two.
any, one thing that you can do is, I feel like when you saw the Widow Mines, so if we went back, we would be able to see again, but when you saw the Widow Mines, I felt like you kind of committed to the battle. Oh, maybe that was a little too far, but I feel like you committed to the battle a little too hard, and you ended up losing a really good number of your army. All your Balings died, a lot of your Lings died, and you were kind of just left with Mutas, which was directly countered by the rest of his army. And so,
All right, so let's
yeah.
go ahead and watch this.
And so, like, what I would say is that you have to always assume that the Terran has Widow Mines, as Terran assumes that you always have Banelings, because they're both as dangerous as each other. And so, what I would recommend is make sure you're always testing for Widow Mines, and if he has them, play much more defensively than you normally would, because I felt like you played as aggressively as you were initially planning to, and that led to you losing a good number of your army forces.
Also, one interesting thing about Widow Mines is that they can be countered by speed overlords.
Oh, yeah, they could for sure. Yeah, and if you really want to counter them, if you're in the position to, you can always go Broodlords as well.
Yeah, but that's not until late game.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just that's why I said if you're already in the late game and you have access to Broodlords, make them because they make Widow Mines look like ridiculously stupid.
Yeah, they'll make Widow Mines kill Marines.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's see. So right here, I think that instead of simply running your entire okay, because honestly, it doesn't look like the Terran has much right now. But these Widow Mines just just
Mm.
exponentially make the
Yeah,
Terran army so much more powerful.
and you already knew about the Widow Mines because it blew up one of your Banelings. So the fact that you already knew about them and you committed to the attack anyways is what I think probably cost you this game if you lose. But um, yeah, like if you had played more defensively at this point and tried to trigger the Widow Mine forwards, or at least not like commit your army in an area where you knew they already were, you would have done better.
Yeah. So what I would have done is I probably would have built a bunch of overlords and then flew them in from multiple directions. So maybe one up north, one maybe to the east, and then just like fly them in while your Zerglings are moving in with your Banelings. So pretty much these Widow Mines will just detonate randomly to the top and to the right while your army goes right in for the kill. But instead, this
Yeah, look
happens.
look how much stuff dies. Like
Yeah,
he shouldn't have. He didn't have enough there to kill as much stuff as he did, but you kind of allowed it a little bit because of how aggressive you were playing there into like what you knew was could be a Widow minefield. And so at least scout with an overseer and sacrifice it into, the area you're about to engage to see how many Widow mines that he has when you already know there is one. Because as we were saying before, like he did already kill one of your banelings with a Widow mine before any of this happened, and you still chose to engage. And so I think more careful play at that point would have been advisable.
yeah. So right here, like Crucifix said, like I'm not sure if you were desperate or you thought that your army was big enough, but or well, not here, but
Before, yeah.
after this battle.
I don't know if you probably didn't know about these Widow mines. I'm not positive, just because we've been jumping around so much. But now that you knew he already had them, once you know the Terran player has Widow mines, you have to be careful. It's like when Zerg has burrowed Banelings. Like the first time you experience them, from them point on in the game, you have to be at least reasonably careful. Um, and so, yeah, really would have recommended morphing more overseers and at least inspecting a battle before you commit to it.
Yeah. So right here, I think that if you had retreated, morphed banelings, harassed them a little bit, maybe try to pick off some of these medevacs since mutalisks are actually really good at hit and run tactics versus medevacs.
So good, yeah.
So maybe you could have also ran over here with like maybe um, 2 to 4 mutalisks, to get them off mining while you built up banelings and then gotten rid of these marines because I mean like these marines are very powerful, but I mean banelings are just like 2 banelings could wipe out half of this force if
Yeah.
distracted well enough. And so yeah, so
Yeah.
I thought that this was a very bad engage.
It's like what everybody says. I mean, how do you get your enemy to stop putting pressure on your base, put pressure on his? Like, you have mutes. Um, you have mutes. They're fast. They're agile. Go at least harass his economy so that you're doing damage. You're doing some damage to him instead of doing no damage. Which I mean, you are killing some of his army, but he's willing to take army damage, especially when he kills this many drones and everything. Um, but if he's taking no damage back in his base, then he is a completely happy camper. And so, yeah, if you're taking damage at your base, the first thing you should do is calculate how to decrease the damage that you're taking while inflicting damage on him.
Yeah, so right here, I don't know if you've given up, but this should never ever happen. Pretty much these drones are willingly going to their deaths, and what you want to do is right right before they're gonna kill your hatchery, or maybe even um, as they're coming in, you want to move all of your drones over here to the edge to force them to overextend into your
Mm-hmm.
expo, just in case you want to flank them
Right.
at the
And
end.
yeah, if he's forced to move to the very edge of your expansion, then he has to move all the way back, and by that time, your banelings would probably be done along with your zerglings, and he wouldn't be able to get this really good position outside of the expansion. He'd be trapped inside. But now, when you try to go engage him, I'm sure you're still going to catch some marines, and you did kill the majority. You killed almost all of them, but in a different situation where he was really good at splitting. Um, it would have been in a different situation he would have been able to save a lot more marines without you being able to do anything about it.
And also, I noticed that those banelings killed most of his army, but then he had more. And then the only thing that you had left was some Zerglings. So basically, what that means is more Banelings. But like in this situation, you don't have the gas for it. But in the future, I think more Banelings and less Zerglings.
Another thing that I've noticed is that I feel like you're overcommitting an army that you know isn't capable of taking on the task that you're committing it to. Like earlier, after he used the Widow Mines to kill the majority of your big army, you sent your Zerglings in just trying to do what you could. Um, but the Zerglings ended up doing almost nothing. I think they only killed like maybe one Marine, and and that's much worse than if you had just kept them in a safe place while you built up your army and sacrificed, a base or something like that. Because um, because what you could have done was built up enough force to overrun what he had, and then maybe done a counterattack where you could do damage to him. But what ended up happening is you sent those Zerglings in as maybe a distraction or as a just as a ditch effort because you weren't sure what to do, and it ended up not really affecting him in any way, and it hurt you more. And so what I would recommend is if you don't have enough to kill what he has, or at least to do good damage, like right here, you did kill a good amount of range. I thought that was okay. Yeah, that was fine. But before I really felt like the damage wasn't as good as it could have been, um, and so like if you don't feel like you have enough to do good damage, hold back until you do because if you're just giving him kills, then you're just putting yourself farther behind.
Yep, absolutely. On to the next ZVT replay.
Sounds great. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, get that all set up for us, there, guys.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I got. Alright.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. I missed you.
All right, so looking like another ZVC here. This time a diamond v diamond.
DVD is what I like to call it. It's like a digital video disc, but it's different because it's in StarCraft.
That's very observant of you again.
Thank you.
Right, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward quite a bit here since the
It's
Zerg
fine.
player's opening is pretty solid. You know, he's probably gonna go for a
Mhm.
15 hatch once again, and into a whoa. That's interesting, actually. The gas geyser went up before the pool. It's
Hmm. Yeah, it is looking like the Terran player is also getting his gas before his expansion. So there's going to
which
be no one. There's going to be no one barracks fast expand coming from the Terran player.
Roger that.
He does do a barracks gas and then expand.
So let's see. It looks like some Reaper harass going on here, but
Yep.
not too potent. But it does look like two Reapers are gonna be moving in, so this might actually be devastating if microed right. Let's see.
It's kind of funny. Two Reapers, if like literally pro microed can kill a queen without dying, but it's very hard to do.
So it actually does look like the Terran player is opting not to do his pro micro.
I'm surprised that he keeps his Reapers so far back. Like back here in his base, they're doing absolutely nothing. There's no reason to keep them back here. He should have at least kept them in the middle of the map so that he could sense like so that he could keep track on what the Zerg is doing. But in his base, it's doing nothing.
Yeah, well, Zerglings with their upgraded speed actually tear apart Reapers, so
Correct. Yeah.
I
No.
think
Yeah.
he's probably better safe than sorry kind of tactic here.
That makes sense. If they were to ambush him, he would just die. So yeah, that makes sense.
But they're actually not very well. Actually, let's see. So he does send one as a recon over
It's
up
probably gonna
top.
die from these Zerglings right here. Let's see. I think he's just going to for a dive tactic, which did not work out. He didn't really find out anything. One thing that's good to do is around 6 minutes is when you expect speed. So what most Terrans do is they'll harass with their Reapers until around 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Go back to their base and then move out later with a group of Hellions plus Reaper, and so that'll allow them to have a little bit extra oomph with their Reaper force.
Some extra indeed.
Indeed. It's looking like he's just going to use his to do some follow up to get some follow up information. He will most likely lose this Reaper though, depending on how the Zerg handles it.
Looking like some excellent Reaper control here. But
And it's gonna die.
so
Yeah.
basically both players know exactly what the other player's going for.
Hmm.
But
Very experienced.
but the Terran player actually doesn't see any tech buildings. So looking
That's
like
true.
the Zerg player is a bit of a of a mystery here, as the Terran player doesn't know what to expect.
Well, he did see double gas, and he saw two more gases going down, so he can assume gas heavy play, either early layer or Roach Warren. And since he didn't see the Roach Warren and it was already after 8 minutes, he can assume that it's going to just be fast tech into maybe mutas or just see what we have. We see what we have going from this point forward. But it's not like he didn't get any information from what he saw.
Absolutely. Let's see.
Creep spread isn't bad. I think it could be better though. almost all your creep tumors are off cooldown and ready to produce more creep. It is looking like you made some, so that's good.
One interesting thing to note from both these games is that the natural is never connected to the main, which could could be an issue if things get too rough.
Yeah, that's actually really important because, nine times out of 10, it's not going to be that big of an issue. But that one game where maybe the Protoss, sneaks in there, maybe the Protoss sneaks in there, or you need your queen to back up your army, and they're back there where the creep isn't. It's going to be really important. So I would definitely recommend always completely creeping out your main and connecting it to your natural and your third base as much as you can.
Sounds very creepy.
It's very creepy, and you really should be trying to play as creepy as possible.
Rapist classes.
Exactly. That's the sound that lings make while they walk. A lot of lings going into this third base here. Probably will force a lift. Okay, if he doesn't lift off, he's done. Yeah. A lot of lings. I think you
Ooh,
definitely
this is
have
so
to
painful
pull
right
back
here.
here. A lot of lings died. To Marines, Marauders, and Hellions together are a ling death match. The Marauders aren't too bad, but they're most likely not going to die when they're backed up by Marines and Hellions. So lings by themselves are really hard to win with, for sure.
So
Not
okay.
saying that you were trying to, but
So I think I see a recurring pattern here, both games. So you pretty much are not taking your fourth early enough and not droning up hard enough mid game because you're afraid of these units over here. But the Terran player actually really doesn't have anything. I mean, like he's trying to go for a third base. He's massing drone production.
yeah.
And he's taking up, and he's having this tiny little force over here, and
He only has that army there to protect his third base. That's the only reason he even has it there. He's not going to hit you anytime soon, and the fact that he has a third base means that you should take a fourth for sure.
yeah, because I mean, like right now, like he has 65 SCVs and you have 67 drones. You should have a lot more if you want to out macro the Terran, which you definitely want to.
Mules are so ridiculous that mules are so good that you need to have more than a couple more drones than him. And the fact that Zerg can make two at a time means that, I'm not saying you should have double, of course, but you should have a lot more because an SCV takes 6 minerals back to the command center each trip, and a mule takes 30. So a mule is 5 times as good. And if the Terran player has more than one orbital command, that means that he's getting 2, 3, 4 mules per trip. It just gets exponentially better for the Terran player. So when you see a Terran get a third base, you need to be taking your fourth immediately. That's got to be your first reaction.
Or you can petition Blizzard to remove mules from the game.
Yeah, well, you could just have them remove Terran as well. That'd be equally as effective.
Yep, Zerg versus Protoss all day.
Yeah, I think Protoss would be in a bad position.
So it does look like you've saturated all of your bases this game, which is good. Let's see. Yeah, so your fourth timing was pretty late, and so right now the Terran player is actually a lot better than you economically. So let's see how this battle turns out. So his Widow Mines didn't get time to burn. Okay, wasn't too bad. Let's see. So right now, Terran player's on 3 bases, and you're on 3 bases as well, with the mules coming in.
I mean, your income is matching his right now as far as gas and minerals. You're even a little bit ahead, which is good. And he is saturated. But as I was saying before, the Zerg units are just naturally a little more expensive. And, the Banelings cost so much gas and they die as soon as they attack. And so just in general, the Zerg is expected to lose more per battle than the Terran is. So, like, the fact that your income is equal or a little better doesn't mean that your mineral per unit usefulness is the same, because a Baneling is naturally a mineral spending unit. It's not. It's only going to be useful one time. So, you don't want to be even with a Terran player. You want to be ahead as far as economy goes.
Yep. And so right here, you only have 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you only have 15 banelings. You want around 30 banelings when you want to fight a Terran army head on. So pretty much, if you would have had more banelings here, his army would have just been wiped out. But since oh crap, those mines did heavy damage. But since you only had a small number of banelings, um, you weren't able to take out enough of his army, um,
Mm-hmm.
which made it so that he got the upper hand very quickly.
Yeah. So I think just by the replays that you've submitted so far, I feel like what you're trying to tell us is I keep losing to Widow Mines, Bio Widow Mine. That's super popular as far as Terran goes nowadays. Is Bio Widow Mine, and what I would recommend is I still feel like in general you're just too aggressive even after you know that there's widow mines. Like once you find out there's widow mines, you don't play differently. You play the same as you were, and that's leading you to lose so many units. And a Terran player that can put down widow mines and just bait you into them over and over again will win, no matter what. And so, what I would say is, when you see he's starting his widow mine play, harass his base. So, start sending mutas to his economy. Do run bys at his bases. Try to go anywhere that his main army isn't, and then when you get him to pull his main army back to defend those attacks, that's when you can go back and start clearing out those widow mines with overlords and stuff like that. But if you're committing your main army into his while he has widow mines available to him, then you will lose all of those battles, because all he has to do is retreat into his widow minefield, and then you'll just die, because that's how Zerg does. That's just naturally how Zerg is because if they're not able to bait the widow mine attacks out onto like a single Zergling or two, then they're just trading inefficiently. So.
But I do like the fact that you've borrowed all your drones here. A very smart play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, the GG was appropriate. You didn't really have an army to defeat his, but yeah, I felt like your main issue was that you allowed his widow mines to do too much work. When you realize that the Terran player is going bio widow mine, play more defensively than you are. Do damage on him, which would do transfer damage onto his bases, which makes him pull his army, and then attack his widow mines with his army gone. Because that's the only way you're going to be able to efficiently trade. You're going to be able to efficiently deal with those widow mines.
Yeah, you have to bring the fight to him to buy time for your late game combo, which is Infestor, Ultralisk,
Broodlord,
Baneling,
maybe?
Ling.
Yeah, just whatever. I don't know. Zerg. Whatever you guys do that just wrecks me. Just do that.
Yeah, Chris Fix, you were telling me earlier, that banelings, are so powerful, and they
Yeah.
only require, you to like move out with them. But also the Widow Mine is similar to that, since they're just so powerful. You just
Yeah,
have
but you have
to
to
bury
burrow
them.
them though. Like they don't do anything unless you burrow them. With banelings, you just have to like you could have like a Down syndrome baneling and it would still kill 19 Marines. Like it doesn't matter. Like a Widow Mine at least has to know how to burrow. Like it has to have that skill set. But whatever. Like I guess Terran's very good, and so is Zerg. So it's balanced.
Balanced indeed. All
Mhm.
right, so yeah, so let's go ahead and note 10 things that our Zerg player can take home and work on.
Mm,
Starting with number one, Crucifix.
your creep spread was good, but I don't think it was good enough. I think that the fact that you didn't connect to your natural and your main sometimes, or just stuff like that. Like creep spread is so powerful, and just as a Terran player, I'm afraid to even go on creep spread just because the fact that I know that the Zerg can see every move I'm making is so intimidating, and it hurts your strategy. Like it hurts my strategy so much. And so, like, I feel like creep spread is so important as a Zerg.
All right, point number one. Point number two, um, don't engage the Terran player unless you know without a doubt that you can trade well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good one. Point number three, if you see Widow Mines, change your playstyle. Go more defensive while harassing instead of going all offensive into his army, because I feel like that's how you lost most of your forces.
Point number four. Um, hmm. I noticed that you don't really harass the Terran player much. Always be trying to bring the fight to him. Um, I mean, like, Zerg is naturally a reactive race, and you being a Diamond Zerg player, you've known this for quite a while now. But being reactive doesn't always mean waiting for your opponent to make the first move.
Yeah, sometimes it means attacking him, seeing what he has, and then reacting to that.
Yep, yep. All right, next point, Crucifix.
Number five, I'd say map control. Your map control's pretty good. You do have some overlords waiting for drops, but I feel like it could be even better. I feel like you could have some overlords just in the middle of the map, maybe not a ton, but at least a couple to warn you of like pushes from the parent player or anyone.
Okay. Point number six. Um, make more banelings. The reason why you lost a lot of those fights was because you simply chose to utilize the gas for more mutas instead of more banelings.
Yeah. Point number seven. Um, I think what a lot of Zergs aren't learning, like since Heart of the Swarm came out, is like especially when you know that the Terran player has Widow Mines, you can't just A-click into an army with Banelings. You have to split your Banelings so that a Widow Mine can't take out 19 of them at a time. It's the same thing as when a Terran player moves into a Zerg army. So say a Terran player was to move into a Zerg army without Widow Mines or anything, and the Zerg had Banelings, you never just move in just with your army all clumped up like that, because the Banelings could just kill all your Marines with only a few. And it's the same way the other way around. And I think this is why Blizzard added the Widowmine added the Widowmine to Terran, was because um, the Zerg was able to just A-click into a Terran army and hope for the best. And a lot of times it would work out because Banelings are so powerful against Marine Marauder Bio. But now that they added the Widowmine in, I really think you should start practicing splitting up your forces while attacking a Terran player, because even if Widow Mines do get set off, you won't lose every one of your Banelings and Zerglings. If you work on splitting, you're only going to lose certain sections, which is very important.
Yep. Point number 9 to add to that. Make some overlords and run them in first to trigger off those mines. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think mines take 2 to 3 shots to kill an OV.
I think it's 3. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot for sure.
So pretty much, if you run those overlords in first, they'll take the brunt of the attacks, and then you can just run your army right through.
If you really don't know what to do versus Widow Mines, and you want, just like a kind of a inefficient yet like 100% tactic, just make a bunch of overlords. Like if you have extra minerals, or if you're not sure what to do, just make 8 overlords and just send them ahead of your army, and it'll just take care of it all for you. You won't even have to worry about it. Point number 10. You are a very good player. Like I want to emphasize the fact that like most of what you're doing is good, but that but because you submitted your replays to coaching, like we're only picking out the parts that you can improve on because that's what we're supposed to do. But I just want to let you know that you're a very good Zerg. But that last point that I think you can improve on is your fourth timing, could be a lot better, as Sharp Eyes was saying. I think as soon as you see the Terran or the Protoss taking a fourth base,
Third base actually.
Third base. As soon as you see the Terran or the Protoss taking a third base, especially if it's Protoss, you should really try to deny that base. But in any case, you have to. You need to. You need to take that expansion of your own. Don't allow your opponent to take a base and mine off of it without you having your own, because then you're just behind. A Terran player won't make a planetary fortress until his fourth base, and so up until the third base, there will be an orbital command there, and there will be mules available, and so you're just getting farther behind if you don't take your own fourth.
Absolutely. All right, and crucifix number 11.
If you enjoyed today's coaching session, or if you have suggestions, or just whatever you thought, we'd love to hear your feedback on www.nerdupgrades.com, because we are trying to upgrade you as a nerd, and I know that everybody enjoys some upgrades every once in a while. So we'd love to hear a good review, or just whatever you think. So just hit us up on nerdupgrades.com and let us know. Thanks a lot.
Yep, and as a nerd, you really want to get those 1/1 upgrades. I mean,
exactly.
They're pretty crucial.
And those pro players with those 3/3 upgrades, I really want to find out how to get there, and so maybe eventually we'll get there together.
All right. Well, yeah. So, if you enjoyed our cast, feel free to give us a review, and that'd greatly help us.
Indeed.
Indeed. All right. Well, once again, my name is Sharp Eyes.
I am Crucifix.
And we are
WeCast.
where we cast
And coach.
and you play. All right. Until next time.
Keep on playing.
Keep on playing. Good night.
Peace.